Okay, I want to pick up where I left off in the last episode where I'd said that theology is practical, and we're looking at its practicality in relationship to what gives legitimacy to the authority that is held by those in public office, to give legitimacy to the laws that they would enact or the rulings that a judge would issue. And the thing we want to look at today, and I promise it's going to be very practical, are the ways in which we reason to conclusions about the nature of reality. The first is called inductive reasoning, and the second is called deductive reasoning. I'm going to look at the first today, and we'll look at the second in the next episode. But hang with me here, because this is very important to how we would legitimate the authority of those held in public office. Now, inductive reasoning is what we're used to in our materialistic, the world is a machine kind of understanding of things. Namely, that we look at all the facts that are around us, and from those facts, we can reach certain conclusions. That's inductive reasoning. So scientists, for example, looked at all the facts and they said, well, the facts demonstrate that there is a law of gravity. But as science began to probe into the atom more and began to see more mysteries to the universe than they thought imagined, they realized that inductive reasoning does not lead to any law. It might establish probabilities that if you drop the apple, it's going to fall, but we can't say that that's an immutable, irrevocable, unavoidable law, that it will always fall to the ground. So here's what has happened in science that has undermined the ability of anybody today to understand how natural law could provide an answer to questions of legitimacy. Remember in the last episode, I said, it's not going to be sufficient anymore to say, well, there's a God, so God provides legitimacy to public office. The question is, how does that legitimacy get incarnated? How does it get worked out into real life down here when we write a constitution that says these are the senators and these are the representatives and here are their powers and so on and so forth? Right? Looks like we created it. We made it up, right? So what gives it legitimacy? Now, inductive reasoning has failed to give us any hard and fast answers by which we could say, well, there has to be real authority here, so therefore there must be a God. See, that would be inductive reasoning. We conclude there's authority, so there must be a God. And that doesn't work anymore. Here's a quote from Metaphysical Foundations of American History talking about science, and it's quoting Albert Einstein. Here's what Einstein said. There is no inductive method which could lead to the fundamental concepts of physics. Logical thinking is necessarily deductive. We're going to look at that next time. Deductive reasoning is logical because it's based on hypothetical concepts and axioms. Now we would say they're not hypothetical. God is real. Jesus is real. But when you dismiss the idea of the unseen realities, well, as you might expect, and we'll see next time, deductive logic goes out the window. So the book continues. Completely exploded is the notion that nature is a structure of given entities that are intrinsically meaningful, independent of the human mind. The facts are not in themselves equivalent to knowledge. They are only knowledge to the extent organized by man and organized as ideas and meanings that are conceptual. In other words, put it in a context of the transgenderism. They're just facts about anatomy, but they have no intrinsic meaning. From those facts, we cannot inductively conclude what it means to be a man or a woman as if it's some reality that exists independent of the body having an intrinsic meaning. You see what's happening in our world? You see why natural law divorced from God is going to be unintelligible to the person in our world today who's a thinking person. And he says, so how do these concepts become real? Listen to this. because they're embodied in and correlated with socially agreed upon linguistic symbols. That's why we have such a fight in our culture over pronouns. What's a his? What's a her? What's a male? What's a female? You see, because the body doesn't tell us anything that's a true law about human nature. So, how will we provide legitimacy to public offices? I'm going to suggest to you, again, that it's found in the mystery of God and of the Father and of the Son, in whom are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge that pertain to the legitimization of authority by public officials.